Hey guys, Danny Johnson here. Today we're going to be installing this Addictive Desert Design rear bumper for the Jeep. And this is high quality stuff right here. It has a mount for the rear tire, or the spare tire, because now this one's not going to work with bigger tires here. Especially this right here is only going to accommodate this, pretty much the stock size tire. So this will allow us to run a bigger tire. It's a lot more sturdy of a bumper too, rather than the factory one. So anyway, we'll get started. Okay, so we're gonna start off over here on the driver's side and come under the Jeep here, and then we're gonna unplug this harness right here. So for this clip, you'll see that white piece there. It's like a little lever that you pull out, and once you release it, then you can unplug the connection. Okay, so we just pulled this harness out to make it a little bit easier. So now you can see we're just going to put a screwdriver right up in there to separate that. So that tab just lifted up. Okay, so with that tab pulled upwards, then the plug just separates right there. So next you're going to follow this end of the connector, and we're going to disconnect it where it's attached here and where it's attached here. They're just these Christmas tree type pins that we'll push through. And then the rest of these for the backup sensors we'll take off once the bumper is off. Okay, so if you have some of these needle nose pliers, they come in handy. Just get up underneath it and then pry it off. Okay, so this one came out here. This one came out here. So now we just have our harness hanging down. Okay, you'll want to remove the rear tire. So it's just 3 lug nuts there, and pull it off. Okay, next we're going to take out these 16mm bolts here. So there's one here. There's 2 for the tow package electrical, and then the one on the other side. Okay, so we're going to come in here and remove these 16mm nuts. There's 2 of them. This one's pretty easy to get to. This one, I mean, they require a deep socket to get over that stud, but then when you have a deep socket, sometimes it's tough to get up in here. And so if you're careful, you can get it just kind of on the edge like that and get it off. So we'll remove those 2. Okay, so we're going to use our 8mm socket to take out these 3 bolts here, and that'll just remove this fender piece. Okay, so once you remove this cover out of the way, we're going to go after these 2 16mm bolts.
Now just remove those same bolts on the passenger side, and then the whole bumper should be ready to come straight off.
Next we're going to take out these 4 21mm bolts and remove this recovery hook, since the new bumper is going to mount to here. And then on this side we'll remove these 2. Now we're going to remove these here, so it's just the 2 16mm there. Next we're going to pretty much go through and take this entire harness out. That has the backup sensors, the license plate light, that kind of thing. I'm going to take the whole thing off and transfer it to the new bumper. So these pliers work out really well. You can get in behind here and pop some of these out. They're just the push pin Christmas tree looking deal. So just go ahead and pop each of these out. Just work your way through the whole harness. Okay, so for the backup sensors, you're going to put a screwdriver in here and pry on the top and the bottom, and then it'll come out. And then you have to take out this housing. So then the housing comes off in 2 pieces. You'll just basically pull that front part off and then slide it out. Okay, so on the backup sensor, you're going to want to come in here first and spread at the very base, just like this. Put a screwdriver in here and spread it here, and spread it here. And you can see that when you have it spread on both sides, then you can pull the sensor straight out. Loose there. Okay, so the sensor comes out there. Okay, and then so you'll compress it again on the inner sides of this clip. That allows you to slide it out the front, and that other ring just comes off the back. Okay, so for the license plate light, just pinch and remove. So now we'll just transfer this whole harness over to the new bumper. So on the new bumper, we're going to feed this through these holes all the way through, and you have to come from this angle because this plug connection, if you want to retain this that goes back into the body, won't fit through those holes. Now on these reverse backup sensors, they are different. These are the outer ones, and the ones on the right are the inner ones. You can tell the inner ones come more to a point at the bottom here. It's a little bit thinner, and the outer ones are a little thicker right here where it comes down. You can tell that difference. So you do want to keep these separated. Okay, so we're going to slide our backup sensor in so that it's flush. Then on the back side, we're going to slide this cover back over, and you want this open gap lined up with the open gap here so the plug will work. And when you slide the new one in here, the plug part here goes into that gap. And when you push it flush in, the top tabs will lock into place. And for these rigid lights, we just line them up here, and it was just this one bolt on the bottom. They just mounted right to that bracket here with this bolt. Pretty easy, just put them in place and bolted them in. And we have the wires that will connect at another time. Okay, so we just bolted on the license plate bracket. So it just comes with the hardware. There's 3 bolts that come through here, a locking nut on it, and then a washer that goes on before that. Okay, so for the license plate light, you're going to take off the supplied nut. Then you're going to thread the wires through the front. And then obviously turn that downward. And we're just going to slide the nut back on. And then just tighten it down. On our license plate plug, we're just going to unravel this electrical tape, and by doing so, it should allow it to stretch closer to where we need it. So we stripped our wire loom all the way down here, and then followed the harness backwards. So now we just stripped it all the way back towards the license plate here to where these wires are going to reach. Now we're just putting electrical tape over the wire where we did strip it back until we make our way back up here. In the end, we're going to have the red wires come together, and we're going to tap into the factory white wire, and then we're going to have the 2 black wires come together, and they're going to tap into the black wire.
Now this is very important. On the bumper, you want to feed that license plate connector back through that hole that's on the driver's side, and that way it's not going to get caught up when you go to reinstall it. So make sure you feed that wire back through there. Okay, so now we're going to lift the bumper into place,
And so you want to pay attention to this vertical bracket here. It's going to slide on the outside of these tubes, and then the bolts will go in. Okay, so we have these installed but still loose. We don't want to tighten them down yet so that we can make adjustments to the rest of the other bumper bolts. Next, we're putting back in all these 16mm bolts. We did slide this up underneath the bumper there. And then on this side, there's not a spot for this one, so you can, I guess you can tap one if you wanted to, but we're just gonna put that one in there. Okay, so we reconnected our clip here and we just pushed it back into the body. Then we're gonna have to just zip tie the rest of this harness out of the way.